Hello and welcome on the tutorial on how to do database comparison. So I'm going to start. We have a script called fetch all schema. What it does is that it runs through all these hosts. It will connect to the host, MySQL dump, no data. Download the files, compress them, download them, and then remove them from the server because we don't want to clutter the server. So this works because I have that SSH configuration file where I can refer to the host, so without the .com part. For you, maybe you need to change this to xshop.com. So in order to run it, what I do is I will execute it, then it will print, it will slowly run and it will collect all the data. So here I have already collected the data, so I think it's here. Oh, apparently I don't have the data. Okay, so what I did was I created some databases locally. So let me connect to my local database here. There. These are my local databases. So for sake of example, what I'm going to do is just delete my local databases. And the way I'm going to do that is just by using drop database, whatever. Make sure you're dropping the right database. And of course we have to change this all over it, so I just right click here on BI and then just select block to select a square block of text and then just copy paste it. And now here I think we can just change this to just say replace whatever it is with this, so we can drop it. Maybe you won't have to drop it, but I think it's better to, oh, that's not the copy paste thing, cancel. There we go. Beautiful. So now I have deleted all my databases locally. I have a bunch of databases here which I downloaded, so I'm going to move all these files to EM3, which is my work folder. Here I need to decompress each file individually, so I'm going to do it. Now that I have my files, I can, for each file, import it and create a database and import it. So the way I'm gonna do that is just essentially just copy paste here, and then what we need is just basically create database, use database, and source, right? So in order to create database, what I'm gonna do is guess maybe I can let's try this. We're gonna replace whatever, which is the first thing, and then I guess a dot, and then whatever comes next with the first thing. Maybe this one again. I'm going to replace everything that isn't a dot. That's beautiful. So let's just replace this statement with create database, whatever, use, whatever, source, whatever the line was. Okay, so this should work. For this to work, we need to enter the folder where we were here. So now I'm going to enter the folder. And now I need to run these statements. All errors you may be hearing is like superset views have bad permissions or something. If there is a lot of errors, then you should check, but for me, I already checked what the error is, so it's fine. However, ideally, import will work, no errors. So now we can show databases like %diff, and here you can see we had no databases. So I guess I fucked up and just yeah, I completely fucked up. But I wanted to be underscore diff. That's what I wanted. But that's fine. My local databases were not that important. So now I can compare AmaSubs, and for example, I can compare um, xjobs with another database, like for example rjobs. So the way you do that is that there is a file, so there is a project called dbdiff. You may git clone this repository, and then after you git clone the repository, what you need to do is that you just follow the instructions here. Basically, you just git clone it or download it, and then you need Composer. So Composer is like a tool that you can download from the internet. It's essentially a package manager for PHP, kind of like npm or kind of like apt, right? So you will do Composer install this, Composer that, whatever. So I already did that, and I downloaded the files into this folder called dbdiff. And here are all my files. So the dbdiff is just a text file with some PHP inside, but you can run it using dbdiff, just like that. And it has some command line options. So it has a .dbdiff file, which you must configure. And in the .dbdiff file, then what I did was I added the server 1, which is a name for a server. When I'm saying I'm talking about this server. Server 2 is like the same server. I don't have a password because I don't have time for passwords. But I also added some tables to ignore because I think these tables are not relevant to my work right now. So you can use this exact same configuration file. Maybe you will have to change some of these things locally so that it works in your machine. And if you need this file, just ask Kayushi for it. And here, what you do next is that you proceed to do the run dbdiff, right? So in order to run it, then you run it like this. You run the dbdiff command. You say server 1, 2, 3 jobs, and then some, I guess we can just pass in some database. So in my case, I'm going to compare xjobs, which is the correct database, and there's a colon. And then I'm going to compare that with I guess I can compare this with AR jobs. So here I will run my comparison script. I should run it inside this folder. And as you can see, it has run correctly. Sometimes it fails because it runs out of memory, in which case you will have to modify the program to increase the amount of memory it can use. You can do that by searching something called memory limit in the ini set. It is there somewhere in the source code. You can find it and change it. Anyway, now that this worked, then this generated a file called migration SQL. So this migration SQL file, it contains two different instructions, so SQL up and SQL down. SQL up means what do you need to do to go from database A to database B. SQL down is the opposite. So in this example, we are adding fields. In the other example, we are removing fields. And here you can see that in order to convert AmaSubs to xjobs, AR jobs to xjobs, then what we need to do is to execute these statements where we create this temp to location table. I'm not going to create it out of my own criteria, but we do need to add these fields. And then in order for it to go down, then what we need to do is just do the opposite, which is to remove some fields. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run these scripts in the database. So I believe we tried AR jobs this time. So you just submit this code in the repository for review. and then a responsible adult can execute the statements if they find it agreeable. So as you can see, not that complicated. That's all. Thank you for your attention.